To thread the RCA projector, place the film on the feed arm and pull off about 4 feet of film. The film should be heads out and should feed clockwise from the reel. To check the correctness of the wind, fold the film over your hand. If you can read the title as it should appear on the screen, the film is properly wound. Turn the rewind lever to the operate position and open the picture gate. Hold the film about 4 feet from the end and press down on the sprocket shoe. Slide the film under the feed sprocket. Make sure that the sprocket teeth engage the sprocket holes. Form an upper loop, conforming to the white guideline, and place the film flat on the aperture plate. Close the picture gate. Form the lower loop. Run the film over the guide roller, under the pressure roller, around the sound drum, over the sprung idler, and under the lower sprocket. Make sure that the lower loop conforms to the white guideline and finger stop. If it does not, the sound will not be synchronized with the picture. To better understand the threading operation of the sound drum, let's view this section again. Form the lower loop. Run the film over the guide roller, under the pressure roller, around the sound drum, over the sprung idler, and under the lower sprocket. Make sure that the lower loop conforms to the white guideline and finger stop. Run the film under the snubber roller and insert the end in the slot of the take-up reel. Rotate the reel clockwise to take up the slack, and then lift it to cause tension on the film. Turn the amplifier switch to the on position. The speed selector should be in the sound position. After the amplifier switch has been turned on, the sound lamp lights within a few seconds, indicating the sound system is warmed up. To start the projector, turn the projector switch to project and the projection lamp switch to lamp. The threading operation of the RCA projector is now complete. To rewind the film after a showing, bring the end of the film to the feed reel and attach it. Wind counterclockwise a few turns to take up the slack. Turn the rewind lever to rewind. Turn on the projector switch and let the projector run until the film is rewound.
Always make sure your projector's oil pump is well lubricated. Oil pump. I don't know where the oil pump goes on this. Oh, hey, there you are. Hey, it's me, Colonel Graves. Just reading up on the Emergo projection system. That was created by William Castle back in the 50s for his movie that we're showing today, House on Haunted Hill. Now, Emergo would make skeletons, ghosts, and various things come flying out of the camera. As a projector on the screen right at the audience. Now what I'm hoping to do is to take my high-tech modern camera and we got a tank full of skeleton juice that we got wholesale from a guy I know, and we're going to hook it up to the camera, and soon we'll have skeletons come flying out of the camera right at you. But only if you got your patented Skelo goggles from the participating retailers below. just like a pair of these, you'll be the talk of the town in your Skelo goggles. Now don't worry, if you haven't got yours yet, there's still plenty of time because it's going to take me a little while to get this all working up here. Hopefully Smiley will pitch in a little bit and help, huh? So we're going to cut away and watch the movie for a little while. We'll be right back after this clip from House on Haunted Hill. Soon to be in Skelo-Rama vision. Ooh, right at you, skeletons.
The ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry. May I introduce myself? I'm Watson Pritchard. In just a minute, I'll show you the only really haunted house in the world. Since it was built a century ago, 7 people, including my brother, have been murdered in it. Since then, I've owned the house. I've only spent one night there, and when they found me in the morning, I was almost dead.
I'm Frederick Lauren, and I've rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight so that my wife can give a party. A haunted house party. She's so amusing. There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited. If any of you will spend the next 12 hours in this house, I'll give you each $10,000, or your next of kin in case you don't survive. Ah, but here come our other guests. It was my wife's idea to have our guests come in funeral cars. She's so amusing. Her sense of humor is, shall we say, original. I dreamed up the hearse. It's empty now, but after a night in the house on Haunted Hill, who knows? This is Lance Schroeder, a test pilot, so no doubt a brave man. But don't you think you can be much braver if you're paid for it? And I happen to know that Lance needs the $10,000 I'll give him, if he's brave enough to stay all night. This is Ruth Bridges. You've no doubt read her column in the newspapers. She says her reason for coming to the party is to write a feature article on ghosts. She's also desperate for money, gambles. You've already met Watson Pritchard, a man living in mortal fear of a house, and yet he is risking his life to spend another night here. I wonder why. He says for money. This is Dr. David Trent, a psychiatrist. He claims that my ghost will help his work on hysteria. But don't you see a little touch of greed there, around the mouth and eyes? This is Nora Manning. I picked her from the thousands of people who work for me because she needed the $10,000 more than most. Supports her whole family. Isn't she pretty? The party's starting now, and you have until midnight to find the house on Haunted Hill.
Where is everybody?
It isn't a very warm welcome, is it?
Only the ghosts in this house are glad we're here.
Are we all strangers to each other? Don't you two know each other?
I'm afraid I don't even know your name.
I'm Nora Manning.
Lance Schroeder.
Is Frederick Lauren a friend of yours?
I've heard of him, but I've never met him.
I work for one of his companies, but I've never seen him.
I've never met the man either. Just a phone call. Do you know him?
No,
Well, then you're the only one of us who does.
I don't know him. All the details about renting the house were done by mail.
He's quite wealthy, isn't he?
Millions.
And 5 wives, I believe.
4, I think, so far.
A $50,000 party for only 5 people is a little steep, even for a millionaire.
Well, if I were going to haunt anybody, this would certainly be the house I'd do it in.
Who closed the door?
This thing's made of solid steel.
Annabelle, our guests are here, unfortunately still alive. Is your face on yet?
Dust and dirt everywhere, and the water barely trickles. Couldn't you have had the place cleaned?
Atmosphere, darling. You know how ghosts are. They never tidy up. And that's a very fetching outfit, but hardly suitable for a party.
I'm not going to the party.
The spend-the-night ghost party was your idea, remember? Since it's going to cost me $50,000, I want you to have fun.
The party was my idea until you invited all the guests. Why all these strangers? Why none of our friends?
Friends? Do we have any friends?
No, your jealousy took care of that.
I had a reason for inviting each guest. I wanted kind of a cross-section. From psychiatrist to typist, and from drunk to jet pilot. They share one thing. They all need money. Now let's see if they're brave enough to earn it.
And you call this a party?
Could be.
Why do you always do that? It spoils the champagne.
It might explode.
Never does.
Would you guarantee that?
That isn't funny, Frederick.
Make a good headline. Playboy kills wife with champagne cork. Will you join me?
No, thank you.
Just a sip might improve your humor.
My humor is fine, thanks. And I haven't poisoned it.
It's always good to know that. Have some. You'll enjoy the party more. Go on.
Your trust is so touching. And I'm not going to the party.
Of all my wives, you're the least agreeable.
But still alive.
Would you go away for $1 million and tax-free? You want it all, don't you?
I deserve it all. Your jealousy isn't tax-free. And your possessiveness is maddening.
If ever a man had grounds for divorce,
But can't prove them.
the time will come. You'll slip up one of these days.
Think so?
If I live long enough. You remember the fun we had when you poisoned me?
Something you ate, the doctor said.
Yes. Arsenic on the rocks. Annabelle, you'd do it again if you thought you could get away with it, wouldn't you?
Darling, what makes you think that?
Something about you. I hear that hanging is very uncomfortable, in case you get any more ideas. Now, don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
Darling, The only ghoul in the house is you.
And don't sit up all night thinking of ways to get rid of me. It makes wrinkles.
Man, tell you what, that Vincent Price sure knows how to throw a party, huh? And, you know, $50,000 for a party in today's money, it's, like $1 billion. I don't know. Got something, stuck in here. Oh, I think I got it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, starting to make some progress there. Got a bunch of little skeletons stuck in the feed there. That's what happens to these old Emergo projectors. Usually calcium buildup just makes them inoperable. It's really hard to find. So I'm still learning how to make film work good. But I found a bunch of movies we can watch that teach you how to do it yourself. So I'm learning about the art of projection. For instance, I'm blaming all my failures today on Smiley. Huh? All right, let's watch this, and maybe I'll figure out something to do with these right after this.
Today, films are used for entertainment, education, and research. Whatever a film's purpose, it should always be given smooth, professional projection. Careful planning and preparation are essential to achieving the professional projection which will help the audience get the most out of the films it sees. To show films, there are a number of motion picture projectors available. There are minor differences in them, such as the procedure for threading the film, replacing the projector lamp, cleaning the film gate, the location of the speaker, and the method of rewinding. However, all motion picture projectors operate on the same basic principles. A clear understanding of these principles will provide a basis for operating any type of 16mm projector. A typical motion picture projector consists of two sections, each with a different function. The picture section, which projects the picture from the film to the screen, and the sound section, which reproduces or recreates the sounds which have been recorded on the film sound track. As the film moves through the projector, it first enters the picture section. In this section is the projection lamp, which is a very bright light source. This light is concentrated on a single frame of the film by a condenser lens. The brilliantly illuminated frame of the film is then projected by the projection lens onto the screen. The lens is moved to focus the picture. As the film moves through the picture section, it stops momentarily on each frame. In a sound projector, this happens 24 times a second. Next, the film enters the sound section. Here, an exciter lamp passes light through the soundtrack area of the film. This light is received by the photocell. Sound waves, which have been recorded as variations of light and dark areas on this film, cause the light beam reaching the photocell to vary in brightness. This makes the photocell produce electrical pulsations which are then amplified and fed to the speaker. In contrast to the picture section, the film in the sound section must move smoothly and at a constant speed. There are two basic types of film strip projectors: manual advance and automatic advance. With the manual advance machines, the operator must advance the film manually, according to audible signals on the accompanying record or tape, if there is one. In automatic machines, the film is advanced by inaudible signals on the record or tape. Whether a film strip or a motion picture projector is to be used, preparation in advance is the key to good projection.
This is what she used on my brother and her sister. Hacked them to pieces. We found parts of the bodies all over the house, in places you wouldn't think. The funny thing is the heads have never been found. Hands and feet and things like that, but no heads.
The wife, probably in a rage, threatened the husband with a knife and then, carried away by hysteria, took a swing at him and simply went on from there.
She certainly went on. How many people did she kill, Mr. Pritchard?
Only two. Her husband and her sister. No one else was here.
So there are two loose heads just floating around in here somewhere?
You can hear them at night. They whisper to each other and then cry.
Since our host isn't here, would anyone care to mix me a drink?
Certainly. What will you have?
Good evening. I'm your host, Frederick Loren. Since we're all strangers to each other, let's get acquainted with a drink, shall we?
Mr. Loren, I advise you to call this party off now. The ghosts are already moving, and that's a bad sign.
Let me apologize for my wife. She'll join us later. What do you have?
Scotch and...
Doctor?
I'll have the same.
Now, before the party begins, let's go over the details. The caretakers will leave at midnight, locking us in here until they come back in the morning. Once the door is locked, there's no way out. The windows have bars that a jail would be proud of, and the only door to the outside locks like a vault. There's no electricity, no phone, no one within miles, so no way to call for help.
Like a coffin.
So if any of you decide not to stay for the party, you must let me know before midnight. Of course, if you leave, I shan't be able to pay you anything.
I'm interested in your reasons for this, party. Aside from the pleasant company.
Ghosts, Doctor. I think everyone wonders what they would do if they saw a ghost. And now my wife has given us all the opportunity to find out.
Amusing. Ghosts, etc., being only creations of hysteria, your party should be a success.
Well, Pritchard here promises us genuine ghosts.
7 now. Maybe more before morning.
That's cheerful.
4 men have been murdered in this house. And 3 women.
You planned your party very well, Mr. Loren. 4 of us are men, 3 are women. Well, a ghost for everybody.
Well, Pritchard, why don't you take us on a tour through the house and let's see what happens, huh?
See that stain? Blood. A young girl was killed here. And whatever got her wasn't human. Don't stand there.
What do you mean? Where?
It's too late. They've marked you.
Ridiculous. The roof probably leaks.
Oh, that must be what it is. Who would want to haunt me?
I would say any self-respecting male ghost.
I hope it doesn't come back.
Well, Mr. Pritchard, you're the life of the party.
He hasn't even started yet. Wasn't there a man who threw his wife into a wine vat or something?
That was in the cellar. There's been a murder almost every place in this house. All this belonged to a Mr. Norton, who didn't die here. He was electrocuted later. Mr. Norton did a good deal of experimenting with wines, but his wife didn't think it was any good. So he filled the vat with acid and threw her in. She was supposed to stay down, but the bones came up. It's a funny thing, but none of the murders here were just ordinary. Just shooting or stabbing. They've all been sort of wild, violent, and different.
Look out!
God, she didn't fall in.
You mean there's still acid in there?
Destroys everything with hair and flesh. Just leaves the bones. My, it's dry and dusty down here.
Well, there's a cure for that upstairs. Come on.
How'd you get invited to this party? No. No, go on. I mean, what did he tell you?
Mr. Lawrence said everybody'd get $10,000.
But he didn't say anything about being locked in.
No.
He just made a deal with me on the phone, but nothing about having to stay.
Aren't you going to stay?
If I don't, I lose $10,000.
I'm going to stay, too. $10,000.
Yeah. You believe in ghosts?
I don't know.
Well, I agree with what that doc says. You can spook yourself. I've done it in planes. Seen things that weren't really there. Or were they? What are you going to do with your $10,000? If we get it.
What do you mean, if we get it? Won't he pay us if we stay?
Ah, sure he will. 10,000 is no more to him than a nickel is to us.
We were in an automobile accident. Now I'm the only one in the family who can make any money.
Boy, I've never seen so many doors. Closet? Bottles.
Does it go anywhere? Lance! Lance!
she say Lance is gone? Gone where?
We'll have to break it down. It's locked.
Huh?
You all right?
Nothing that money won't cure. I must have bumped my head.
And the only way you could bump your head in here is to run head on into the wall. You didn't do that, did you? Let's get a bandage on that.
I wonder why they didn't kill him.
Who?
He didn't bump his head. They hit him.
They?
You're going to appreciate this when you come flying out of that projector in a minute. Oh, hey, get ready to test the system. We think it's ready. I'm going to have Smiley here. He's going to jump in the tank, and he's going to be my guinea pig. And I'm going to just tie some ropes on here so when he comes flying out, he don't go slam into a wall or an open pit of acid or something. Yeah, forbid that. Yeah, the skeleton tank, it's highly toxic and dangerous and everything. So, but my man here, he's going to do it for me. So, while we throw Smiley here in the tank, we're going to stop and watch another video about how to do film and recording and sound and everything. So we can learn even more to bring you everything in glorious Skelo-Rama. Ooh, whoa!
The sound and picture are usually photographed on separate films, which are called negatives. These negatives are combined by ordinary photographic printing to produce the positive print which is used in the theater to reproduce the original picture and sound. Since the photographic film is affected only by light, it is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. As I speak, the sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light falling on the photographic film. The light that falls upon the photographic film is in the form of a fine, bright line extending transversely of the direction in which the film moves. The part of the film on which the line of light falls to make the photographic sound record is called the sound track. When the line of light is so placed as normally to extend part way across the sound track, and the sound-controlled variations cause the position of one end of the line to move transversely of the track, a record known as a unilateral variable area soundtrack is produced. When both ends of the line of light are caused to move transversely of the track, a record known as a bilateral variable area soundtrack is produced. When the line of light extends completely across the soundtrack, and the thickness of the line is varied by the sound-controlled current variations, a record known as a variable density soundtrack is produced. All of these sound records contain photographic records of light variations corresponding to the pressure variations in the original sound. If either a variable area or a variable density sound record is run past a narrow line of light from a fixed source, and the light, after passing through the film, is visually observed, the amount of light reaching the observer is constantly varying from instant to instant. If the eye were capable of quantitatively measuring the light, it would see that the amount of light reaching it from either sound record varies in exactly the same way. There are in common use today electrical devices which will quantitatively measure what the eye can only approximate. The photoelectric cell is one such device and is universally used in the reproduction of photographic sound records. The reproducer system to which you are now listening contains such a photoelectric cell. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current which are directly proportional to the variations in the light beam. As the varying electrical current in the photoelectric cell is small, a vacuum tube amplifier is required to increase it to the point where it will operate a loudspeaker. The loudspeaker converts the varying electrical current into sound waves, which are the counterpart of the sound waves falling on the microphone in the recording studio.
Nora, when you came in, you said something about a ghost.
There was something.
What did it look like?
Well, it was wearing a black thing that went all the way to the floor.
Weren't you a little frightened at the time?
Well, yes.
That, Mr. Loren, is hysteria.
Well, then, Doctor, how do you explain what happened to Lance? Was that hysteria, too?
You better get that checked in a day or so.
Thanks, Doc. Wait for me in the hall.
The ghosts are coming closer, Mr. Loren.
You really believe in your pet ghost, don't you, Pritchard?
Before the night's over, you will, too.
Would you like a drink, Lance?
No, thanks.
I'd like one. Scotch and. Mr. Loren, are you really going to pay anyone who stays all night?
Certainly. $10,000.
Will there be much red tape or delay?
In a hurry, dear?
Frankly, yes. Or frantically.
There you are, my dear.
Someone or something was in here when I came in. But where? And if the door was locked, how did it get out? What you saw might have been a ghost, Nora, but what was in here with me was no ghost.
I don't know. I was so scared.
Does it sound different to you?
Yes.
Three, 6, 9, 12. 12 feet. Three, 6. Now, I'm going to knock on the other wall. When you hear me, you knock on this wall. Tap lower down. Where'd it come from?
From in here.
I'd have seen it.
Lance, it doesn't run, it just floats.
Yeah, but why didn't I see it?
You don't believe me.
Well, how can I?
I'm Annabelle Lauren. You must be Miss Manning. I realize this is a very unusual and I'm afraid very dull party. Wouldn't you like to freshen up? This is your room. Depressing, isn't it?
I doubt if I'll spend much time here.
It's going to rain. Perfect atmosphere for my husband's party. Why did you come here?
He said he'd give me $10,000.
Why did he pick you?
I don't know. My supervisor just came and said I'd been invited.
How long have you known my husband?
I just met him tonight.
So? Why you? What were you doing wandering around by yourself?
Well, I was in the cellar with Lance, Mr. Schroeder, and I just left, that's all.
Don't do it again. Don't go anywhere in this house by yourself. Now fix your face and I'll come by for you in a few minutes.
But
You're in danger. We all are.
But who?
I hope for your sake you never find out. I'm Annabelle Lauren. Were you looking for something?
Not exactly.
Are you the doctor?
No, I'm Lance Schroeder.
The pilot. You've hurt yourself.
Oh, it's just a bump on the head. Which is my room?
I believe this is it.
Thank you, Mrs. Lauren.
Annabelle Lance. You were with the young girl in the cellar. Why was she so upset?
Was she?
And you don't look like the type to go around bumping his head. What really happened, Lance?
Well, Nora thought she saw a ghost, but I didn't see anything.
She was just frightened then.
And mad at me, I think. I kidded her about it.
I wouldn't joke about anything else that happens here tonight.
Now, don't tell me you're taking all this seriously.
Aren't you?
Well, I'd like to find out what hit me.
Lance. If I need help, may I count on you?
Yeah, sure, I guess so. Look, what's going on here anyway? I mean, what is with this party bit?
This is no party. He's planning something.
Your husband?
I wish I knew what it was.
Must be pretty big if he's going to lay out $50,000.
The money doesn't mean anything. He has a reason for getting us all up here to this dreadful old house.
Well, what for? He doesn't even know us.
Maybe that's exactly why you're here.
Well, what can he get away with?
Oh, he thinks that big money like his can get away with anything. You know, of course, that I'm his fourth wife. The first simply disappeared. The other two died. Lance, I don't want to join them.
You mean he,
Oh, his doctor said they died of heart attacks. 2 girls in their 20s.
Well, what can he do?
My husband is sometimes insane with jealousy. Nothing matters to him then. Please be careful.
Would he hurt you?
He would kill me if he could.
Annabelle, you're missing all the fun. Nora Manning was almost killed by a falling chandelier. The pilot bashed his head in.
Is he badly hurt?
The Saturnine psychiatrist bandaged him up. Don't you want to go and console him, as you do most men, in your fashion?
You're so clever, Frederick.
As I lie awake nights wondering why I married you. It was rather a mistake.
You didn't marry me, dear. I married you. Unpleasant, but no mistake.
Hurry up.
Frederick, for the last time, I'm not going to your party.
And for the last time, it's not my party, but yours. And you are going.
I am not.
You ready, dear?
No.
Are you ready, dear?
Yes, damn you.
Would you adore me as much if I were poor? No. All you want to be is a lovely widow. It's almost time to lock up the house. Then your party will really begin. I wonder how it'll end. It's close to midnight, Lance.
Okay. I'll be down in a minute.
Who is it?
Your host, my dear. It's almost midnight, Nora. We're all going to get together down in the living room.
All right, Mr. Lloyd. I'll be right down.
Come with us. Come with us before he kills you. Where's Nora? Miss Manning.
I don't want to stay here.
Nora, what happened? That's Jonas Slides and his wife. They've been caretakers here for years. She's blind, you know.
I'm not going to stay here.
Well, Doctor, it looks like we have a real case of hysteria on our hands.
I think she's just a little upset, not hysterical.
Good evening.
Hello, my dear. This is my wife. These are our guests. Ruth Bridges, Dr. Trent. You know Watson Pritchard, of course. Nora Manning, and this is Lance Schroeder.
Get me out of here.
Now, what about the 10,000?
I don't care. He wants to kill me.
Who wants to kill you?
Mr. Lawrence.
May I have your attention, please? I think you all remember the bargain we made about staying all night. $10,000 apiece. If any of you don't survive, $50,000 will be divided amongst the rest of you. If I should die, you will be paid by my estate. When the door is locked from the outside by the caretakers, we'll all be forced to stay in this house until morning. If any of you decide not to stay, you must leave with the caretakers now. You won't have a chance to change your minds later, because there'll be no way to get out.
I don't want to stay.
Wait.
It isn't midnight yet. Who told them they could leave?
They never leave before midnight.
Well, they've gone now. I was going to ask you whether you wanted to stay or not, but it seems that the caretakers have made the decision for you. We're all locked in now.
But I don't want to stay.
And I'm sorry, my dear, but it's too late now.
Darling, haven't you had enough of the silly game? Get some cars up here for these people and let them go home. But pay them first.
This is your party, remember? In spite of my wife's faith in my ability to do the impossible, we will all have to stay in this house until 8 o'clock in the morning. But we have some party favors for you in these little coffins. This is my wife's idea. And I must say, I think it's rather dangerous. I suppose you all know how to use one of these things, but in case you don't, you just press down on this lever with your thumb and then pull the trigger. You see, they're loaded.
These are no good against the dead, only the living.
Doctor? Lance? Nora?
Go ahead, take it.
Miss Bridges? And here's yours, dear.
I don't need it.
It was your idea. Who knows, you may want to use it on me before this night is over.
Throw these guns away. They won't do you any good.
I agree with Pritchard on that point, although not for the same reason.
Dr. Trent, don't you approve of our little party favors?
Suppose Nora had had a gun when she mistook the blind woman for a ghost.
I don't think anyone else is going to walk around in total darkness.
Oh, I'm sure we're not going to go running around the house shooting each other, aren't you?
Who knows? Fear makes people do amazing things.
Mr. Pritchard, you said your sister-in-law killed a man and a woman here and cut them up? You said they found hands and feet, but they never found any heads. Would you like to see one of those heads? Would you all like to see one of those heads? Well then, just follow me.
Darling, I really don't need this.
Hey, welcome back once again. I think we got a leak in the bone injection system or something. So we're gonna take a break. I got Smiley checking it out. And we're gonna watch a film more about film. Let's learn more. Huh?
More than 70 million people in the United States go to the movies each week to get away from their cares and to find entertainment, romance, and thrills on the magic screen. But only a few understand how the lights and shadows on the screen are controlled to make us see a motion picture. Motion pictures are based on an optical illusion. Just another case where seeing is believing. To understand how we see, let's turn the tables on the human eye and look at it instead of through it. The light reflected by any object we look at passes through the lens of the eye and is focused upside down on the sensitive surface called the retina. This retina passes the impression on to the optic nerve, which sends it to the brain, and we see it right side up. The reflection will stay on the retina as long as the object is in view. When we look away or take the object away, the images disappear. But notice that the image in the brain does not disappear immediately. It fades a fraction of a second after the object is removed. This slow fading is called persistence of vision. When we look at a moving object, we really see it in two places at once, where it is and where it was a fraction of a second before. Let's get out into a rainstorm for a good example. The water you seem to see falling in streams is really a lot of separate drops. Persistence of vision makes you see each raindrop in several places over a distance of several inches. Let's look at a picture of a car and a picture of a moving landscape to show how the eye can make them seem to overlap. Let's run them on the screen, one after the other. We look at them for 2 seconds each, then for 1 second each. Now, faster and faster until we see the two pictures as if they were both one picture, another optical illusion. If your eyes didn't trick you into seeing the moving particles of fireworks as continuous streaks, you would see only sparks instead of streams of light. Persistence of vision is the principle which makes movies possible. A motion picture is really only a fast series of still photographs that overlap in your mind. Tracings of two of these still photographs, placed one on top of the other, show that each of the two photographs has caught the press in a slightly different position. Here is the way the first photograph looks. This is the way the second photograph looks. Now let's take the complete series in rapid succession. Faster. Persistence of vision makes us see two pictures at once. As a result, there is an appearance of motion. So motion pictures are just still pictures joined together on a long strip of film. The more still pictures we get while the action is going on, the smoother it looks. If we want to slow down the motion of something that goes fast, we speed up our camera and make, say, 5 times as many pictures per second. We have slow motion when they are shown on the screen at normal camera speed. Now, here is a motion picture film, 1,000 feet, 16,000 separate photographs. Let's tidy up this tangle of film by putting it on a reel. Now we'll build a projection machine to show the pictures on a screen. The film unwinds from the reel and rewinds onto another reel after it runs through the projector. To throw the picture on the screen, there is a bright light with a reflector behind it to send the light rays in the right direction and a lens to concentrate the light. The film passes a hole or aperture which lets the light go through only one picture at a time. There is another lens to focus the pictures on the screen. By adjusting the lenses, the picture can be made sharp and clear. Let's start the machine moving. The still pictures blur because they're moving all the time. And this won't do it all. We need something to hold each picture still long enough for us to look at it in between the changes. When the film is started and stopped in rapid succession, the eye sees the changes being made, and the result is streaks instead of movies. So we need a shutter to cut off the light while every change of picture is being made, and let light through only while the film is standing still. Surprising as it seems, You never see a motion picture while it is actually moving. The only time a movie moves is when the shutter keeps you from seeing the change of picture. Then we see it just the way it looks in real life. Now we have the important parts of a projector for showing motion pictures on the screen. But let's change that drawing to an actual machine at work. This reel holds the supply of motion picture film, which passes through the projector at a speed of 90 feet each minute. Slots on this aperture plate guide the film past the narrow beam of light so that only one picture can be seen at a time. The adjustable lens, which gives us a clear, sharp picture on the screen, is placed in the path of the light rays after they pass through the film. Sprockets, which guide the film as well as start it and stop it, are placed in position to hold the film in proper position at all times. The shutter is placed behind the film to cut off the light at intervals while the pictures change. And now, when you see motion pictures, you get a true picture of what really happens. A picture that you could never see in any other way.
Just go look in my suitcase. Just go look. But it was in there. A woman's head.
Nora, I think you're a little upset. Would you care for a sedative?
Get out! Get out, all of you! All of you, get out of here and leave me alone! Just get out of here!
You think it's all right to leave her by herself, Doctor?
I wish she'd taken the sedative.
Well, what do you suppose she thought she saw?
They're closing in on her.
Look, Doc, I think somebody ought to stay with her.
There could be 1 million people around her. But if they wanted her, they'd get her.
What if he's right?
He's too drunk to know what he's talking about.
I wonder. I'll join you in a minute.
Do you think it would do any good if you went in and talked to her?
Well, do you think there really was a head in her suitcase?
I don't know.
A thing like that would put me right over the edge.
Look, would you sort of stay up here, I mean, in case she needs help?
All right. I'll be in my room. Just call if you want.
Thanks.
Are you sure there are only 7 people in this house?
Positive, except for the ghosts.
I don't believe in ghosts, nor in frightening women. In Nora's case, it's gone far enough. Perhaps too far.
What do you suggest we do about it, Doctor?
Don't frighten her anymore.
Nora? Nora? do you know about this?
They've taken her. In a little while, she'll be one of them.
Where's Norton? Where is she?
It's too late. It's too late. You'll never find her again.
Pritchard, if you know where she is, you better tell me now.
She's gone. She's gone with him. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Nora?
She's dead, Mr. Loren. Your wife hanged herself.
Suicide.
He tried to kill me. He grabbed me and choked me and put me in that room. And then he went away and left me.
Who?
He thought I was dead.
Who?
Mr. Lord.
Are you sure about this?
I don't know. It was dark, but it must have been him.
Has anybody seen you since he left you?
I heard some people in that room, but I went by and nobody saw me.
Mrs. Loren is dead.
But how?
Loren said she committed suicide, but I think somebody killed her.
Him?
I'm sure you've come to the same conclusion I have.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, let's all have a meeting, discuss what to do. The living room?
Okay, in a minute. I've got to go downstairs. Now, you lock yourself in here and don't let anybody know you're here. If he thinks you're dead, he won't come here. And I'll get back as soon as I can. You'll be all right. And if you have to, you use it.
So beautiful. So greedy. So cold. What are you doing in here?
Wait. Don't wait.
What do you mean coming in here?
I didn't want them to take her away.
You're drunk.
They will if you don't watch her.
You're drunk. All right, out with it, Bridget. Why did you come into this room?
I'm the only one who understands.
Understands what?
Your wife isn't there anymore. She's already joined them.
Bridget, I've had enough of your spook talk. Get out, you sot, and don't come back into this room again.
Where's what's-her-name? Nora.
I didn't disturb her since I don't think this concerns her.
No, you're right.
Mr. Loren, isn't there some way we can get out of this house now?
No, none at all.
We could try breaking out.
The only door to the outside is made of steel. The bars of the windows are set in solid stone. We gotta stay.
I'm not afraid of your ghosts, Bridget. But I am afraid. When we came here a few hours ago, the only thing we had in common was the $10,000 we'd get. Now, however, we share something else. The death of Mrs. Loren. So far tonight, one of us was almost killed by a falling chandelier. One of us was mysteriously slugged. One of us has been driven to the brink of absolute hysteria, and one of us is dead. Were these accidents? Suicide? And we must stay here for 6 more hours.
6 hours? 6 of us. Time enough.
Who'll be next? How will it happen?
Let me ask you a question, Doctor. You were the first one to see my wife there. Did you also see anything that she could have climbed up on and then jumped?
No.
Did any of you? There was nothing. How then did she get up there so high?
Exactly, Mr. Loren. How? She couldn't have pulled herself up there. She couldn't have dropped from the ceiling. Do you think your wife killed herself?
No. She was murdered by one of you.
Or you, Mr. Loren. To deliberately kill someone, you must have a reason.
We were all strangers to your wife. Only you had a motive for murder.
What husband hasn't at some time wanted to kill his wife? What husband hasn't had 1,000 opportunities to do it in such a way so that he'd never be suspected? I'm not such a fool as to hang my wife from a ceiling by a rope.
The fact remains that you, or one of us, murdered Mrs. Loren. And that's a matter for the police.
So how do we get the police?
That's my point. We can't until morning. What began as a silly party given by an eccentric has now involved us all in murder.
For once, Pritchard may be right. If another murder's in the works, let's stop it now.
Another murder?
Why not? Maybe one of us saw too much.
Why should even a millionaire want to give each of us $10,000 to spend one night in a gloomy old house? To see some ghosts, have a party? No.
Have you finished trying me, Doctor? And is the verdict guilty of murder?
Oh, this isn't getting us anywhere. Somebody killed Mrs. Loren. We know that. One of us is guilty and the rest of us are innocent. Okay. Now, what we have to do for the next 6 hours is protect ourselves from each other.
Do you really think?
I don't think anything. I just know that I'm going to my room. And if anybody comes in, I'll shoot him. Or her.
And if we all stay in our rooms, we'll be safe. Because the innocent will have no reason to leave his room. And the guilty will admit his guilt if he or she does.
And we all have guns.
And we're all agreed?
Oh, I wish this night were over.
Brooms? Guns? I tell you, it doesn't make any difference. They aren't through with us yet.
What's the use of saying goodnight?
Good night.
Good night, Doctor.
Oh, hey, yeah, I know you're not seeing skeletons flying at you yet or anything, but Smiley's got it narrowed down. He thinks it's the skeleton tank itself, which he's checking on now. It's highly toxic and has a tendency to actually turn people into skeletons, which, that's why I said Smiley. I'd go myself, but, you know, I'd die. So, worst thing that happened to him, anyway, he's a double skeleton now. So I'm going to try to get some of these cables ready and watch one more film, maybe help explain what I'm doing here, because I don't know. We'll be right back after that. Jeez. A, B, middle, B, middle. I think this one's bi-curious.
In the majority of institutions, audiovisual equipment and the films themselves are kept in a central location. Here, the films are checked and, if necessary, repaired, and the equipment is maintained. Operators should be trained in the principles of projection and in maintenance of the equipment. When a window is dirty, only a blurred image is seen. A cloth with a window cleaner is used to give a crystal view. Just so in cleaning the lenses of a projector. Remove grit and brush gently with a soft brush. Use a piece of lens cleaning tissue with a drop of lens cleaner on it. Then clean lightly using a circular motion. A dirty lens projects a scene like this. Clean it and you have this. This fuzz around the edge of the picture area is dirt in the aperture. It is not only disturbing to see, but it can scratch the film. Though projectors are built to keep film wear and strain at a minimum, film running through a projector must touch hard surfaces in a few places. Any dirt, grit, or caked emulsion in these places, such as the film gate, the sprockets, which engage the sprocket holes and move the film, and the guide rollers, can cause these harmful and unpleasant scratches. These areas should be cleaned before every film showing. Periodically, the film gate edges will have to be cleaned with a wooden toothpick, not a metal object, to remove caked emulsion. When the parts which contact the film are worn unevenly or are dented, scratching will result. Close inspection of the film gate will show that it is designed so that important parts of the film will not touch it at all. A path is hollowed for the picture area, and another path is hollowed for the soundtrack. Only the small remaining parts of the film touch the gate. Dragging the leader on the floor picks up dirt and dust. Hasty threading can also lead to film damage. The most common fault in quick threading is not having the sprocket teeth engaged in the sprocket holes. If sprocket holes are torn, the sprockets and the claws of the film gate may fail to transport the film, resulting in the loss of the loops. Since the loops act as shock absorbers, their loss means the film is receiving damaging strain. To correct this, the projector should be stopped immediately and the loops restored. If this isn't caught at once, many feet of film may be destroyed. It's very much like having several pages torn or ripped out of a book. Correct loop size is usually indicated on the projector. If the loops are too large, they will slap about. If they are too short, they may tear the film. When a film break occurs in the projector, serious film damage may result. The film must fit snugly over the sound drum, and the lower loop must always be the correct size in order for the sound to be synchronized with the picture. The sound is located ahead of the corresponding picture because of the distance between the sound section and the picture section of the projector. Properly threaded film appears like this on the screen.
I don't know what to do about it. Is there something I can do to stop the thing from smoking? Because I'm sure it's going to catch on fire and blow up any second.
However, if the lower loop is too short, the voice will be heard like this.
Smoking like crazy. Is there anything I can do? Anything at all?
In advance of the picture. And if the loop is too long, the voice may well lag behind the corresponding picture.
Look, I stepped on the brake and the thing started to smoke. Everything just blew up in front of me, so I stopped. I don't know.
Some motion picture projectors are designed to thread the film through the machine automatically and form the loops to the correct size. It is still important, however, with such machines to read their instructions carefully and to check to see that the automatic threading devices have performed properly. Films to be used in auto-thread projectors should be supplied with long leaders in case of a malfunction. If the film should break while being projected, do not patch it with tape or anything else. Simply overlap and continue winding, so that later on the break will be found and repaired. Not only is understanding the technical operation and maintenance of equipment important, but knowledge of proper projection setups, covering varied situations, is equally necessary. The screen should be set up at the front of the room so that everyone can easily see it. The screen should be placed at least 2 screen widths in front of the first row. Then the bottom of the screen should be level with the tops of the heads of those in the front row. Normally, the screen should be placed at the front and center of the class, but if the room is difficult to darken, and if the chairs can be moved, it is better to place the screen diagonally in the corner of the room by the windows. In a room where light control is difficult, a screen specially surfaced for use in lighted areas is most helpful. To ensure a smooth running operation, a supply of extra projection lamps and exciter lamps should be on hand. With most of the preliminary preparation done in the audio-visual or equipment room, the final setup in the classroom can be made. This time, the projectionist is able to set up the equipment before the class assembles. Sometimes the setup must be made while the class is in session. The screen is placed directly in front of the projector and adjusted to the proper height. The power cord is taped to the floor to prevent the projector from being tipped over if the cord is accidentally pulled. If an extension cord is used, it should be taped to the floor also. For the best sound, the speaker, unless it is built in, should be placed off the floor and near the screen. The speaker cord is secured in the same manner as the power cord. When the amplifier is turned on and the volume is raised, a hiss will be heard in the speaker, indicating that the sound system is working. It's always a good idea to check the film by placing the reel on the projector. If the film is mounted on the reel properly, it should come off the reel in a clockwise direction. When held in this position, the title should read correctly. If there is a soundtrack, it will be on the inside edge of the film. When the projector is started, you won't have this. The picture will be right side up and in proper position. It's always a good practice, if time permits, to actually view the beginning of the film in order to check the focus, the framing, and the volume of the sound. When the room is filled with people, the volume may have to be turned higher. This preparation is the key to good projection. It will result in a smooth, professional screening of the film, and this in turn will provide an opportunity for maximum audience benefit.
Okay? They've all gone to their rooms and locked themselves in.
Lance, I've been thinking. It was so dark down there. Maybe it wasn't Mr. Lorne.
It was him, all right. He tried to kill you, and he did kill his wife.
How can you be so sure?
She tried to warn me, asked me to help her. The doc thinks he's going to try and kill one of us. Now, there must be a way out of this place, and I'm going to find it and get the police before he does.
I'm going with you.
Well, if he finds out you're alive... No, Nora. You're safer here than any place else. Now, just lock yourself in and keep quiet. If I find a way out, I'll come back and get you.
And admission of guilt, Doctor?
Certainly not. There's either somebody else in this house or one of us has left his room. Did you hear anything?
Organ music?
That, and someone walking.
You got yours? Ready?
You look downstairs, and I'll look up here.
Why not together?
There may be only minutes, seconds left of someone's life. Why waste time? It's almost over, darling. Every detail was perfect.
What's happening?
We've done it. A perfect crime. Beautiful.
Has she killed him?
Not yet. But she will.
Get me out of this hanging harness. What's taking that girl so long? What time is it?
At first, I couldn't get Nora to want to protect herself with a gun. But after you appeared at the window, everything began to work just as we had planned. You were wonderful. Just the touch that finally drove her into complete hysteria.
It'll be worth all of our planning, darling. Where's Nora now? What's happening?
On her way to the cellar. So scared she'll shoot the first thing that moves.
And Frederick?
On his way to the cellar, too.
David, are you sure none of them will suspect us?
Of what? An hysterical girl accidentally shoots somebody? Who would suspect that we planned it that way, that we drove her to it?
What about my suicide?
But just a ghost party gag. We'll claim it was a dummy since I'm the only one who touched you.
And the caretakers?
Well, they had no idea what they were really doing.
What about Nora? She's not stupid, you know.
Darling, believe me, everything we planned is working perfectly. Nora is sure Frederick murdered you. She thinks Frederick attacked her in the cellar, not me. And now Nora's almost out of her mind with fear. The heads, the music, you're hanging. I tell you, when Frederick walks in there, she'll shoot him.
It's taking too long. David, you ought to be there.
When you hear the shot, come down to the cellar.
David? David?
At last you've got it all. Everything I have. Even my life. But you're not going to live to enjoy it. Come with me, murderess. Come with me. You two planned was indeed perfect. Only the victim is alive and the murderers are not. It's a pity you didn't know when you started your game of murder that I was playing too.
There must be some way to get in here.
Oh, it's right along here, somewhere.
Lance! I've shot Mr. Loren. He's down in the wine cellar.
Alive?
I don't think so. It's him. He's alive.
You didn't shoot anyone, my dear. I loaded your gun with blanks. I can tell you all now. Trent and my wife were planning to kill me. They failed. Trent tried to throw me in the vat. My wife stumbled and fell. I'm ready for justice to decide if I'm innocent or guilty.
Now there are 9. There'll be more, many more. They're coming for me now. And then they'll come for you.
Smiley says he's got it all sorted out. The only problem is like a small, highly toxic leak from the tank that might cause something to happen when we turn on the projector. But don't worry, you should be fine unless you're, of course, wearing the Skelo goggles. Available from these fine retailers. All right, man, that Bloody Pit barbecue, that is great on some meaty neck bones. Boys, that Smiley says we're ready. Okay, hit it. No, Smiley, no.
God, it's full of skeletons.
Sit on my lap, Skelly boy, though you're made of bone, Skelly boy.